Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Organic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, and I'm really excited to share today's episode with you guys because I've been waiting for a while to be able to put this out, and I'm excited to finally be able to share this episode where we talk all about the science behind astrology. And yes, I said the science behind astrology because astrology is not just a daily horoscope and just blaming your entire life on like your sun sign. Astrology is an ancient observational science based on wisdom that has been gleaned over thousands of years of human experience it doesn't make up the energies, but addresses energies that are already at play when it comes to the planets and the signs and our natural world around us and how it can influence us. When you more deeply understand the system behind astrology and the energetic science behind it, you can learn to use it as a tool to better enhance your ability to be living a life in purpose. And when you are living in purpose, you are making both your life and the lives of everyone and everything around you better. You are making the world a better place when you listen to your intuition, when you follow the nudges and you follow the desires that have been placed on your heart by God, so that you can live a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, happy, and in purpose and aligned with what you are here to do. So today's episode explores just that, how to live more in purpose and more deeply understand the science and energy behind intuition and astrology and using it as a tool to more deeply understand yourself and your life. So today I'm joined by Mads, who is the founder and CEO of ENDORA and a soul contract medium. She helps people live a life that is more deeply in purpose based on their soul contract, aka the purpose of why they came here to this earth and what they're here to do, the people who they're here to impact, and the systems that they're here to help make better so that we can live a happier, better life on this earth. She also works with spirit babies, doing the exact same thing, helping them to align their soul contract to living a life that is exactly in purpose as they are meant to, as they desire to, before they're even born. And this is where birth charts come into play, especially because whether or not you believe that it's true, your birthday, your birth time, your birth location, none of it is random. None of it is a random little coincidence because the complexity behind the astrology that shapes your birth chart and just how impacted it is by the exact place, time, date that you were born is actually insane. Like if you go into the deeper nuances to astrology, as we do in this episode, you will understand that like a birth chart is something that is a whole language in and of itself when it comes to the themes of your life and living in purpose and understanding like why you came here, what you planned out for yourself. And if any of this sounds a little out there to you when it comes to talking about living life as a soul and kind of like planning the life that you live, I encourage you to just listen with an open mind, because as someone who was raised as a Christian, as someone who is still a Christian, who went to church my whole life, I deeply resonate with a lot of Christianity. And I also always felt this sense of like, I just feel like something is off when it comes to thinking that we only live one single life. We come here once and then we die and we are there for infinity. Because when I think about the size of the universe and I think about how much of just even our physical world is in like the unseen, like literally if you think about the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light is only a very small fraction of the portion of the electromagnetic spectrum in general. Like even just what we can see with our own two eyes, both in this world and this solar system, this galaxy and the galaxies beyond, is even still like such a small fraction of what actually exists. Like there is so much more existing beyond our conscious understanding or even what our physical eyes can see than what is. And to me, when there's so much more that is in the unknown, it makes a lot more sense to me to believe that like why, like I don't know, it always felt weird to think that like we only come here once and then we live once and then we die forever. And I don't think that it is something that makes me any less of a Christian to say that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like I feel a deep intuitive sense of remembering in my body of like, oh yes, that is truth, to remember and understand that like we are all souls who came here to have a human experience. And that doesn't mean that you're not following Jesus and you're not connecting to God, and that God is not real if you don't believe it in the exact way that the Bible lays out for you. And again, this is a personal note aside just before we get into it, but I just feel like it's important because I care about my faith, and we even talk about this in the podcast episode. Two things can be true at once. And you can be a Christian and still love astrology and still believe and understand and be curious about having your own questions, having your own discernment, like thinking for yourself. I mean, I literally had these thoughts when I was a child, and I was like, that just doesn't really make sense. And when I finally heard the perspective of like, oh, we're actually souls having human experience and there's way more beyond this physical realm, something inside of me just clicked and it just makes sense. And it just honestly brought me like a big sense of peace, because I was like, wow, I feel like I have an answer to a question that I have just held in my subconscious for like my whole life. Like, that's pretty crazy. So when I talk about spirit babies and planning an incarnation, things like that, if you are a little jump scared by that, if you're a little skeeved out, I encourage you to take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And if there's something that you feel a little bit like uncertain about, or something that feels a little out there, just sit with it. Like, honestly, just be curious about it, have an open mind, because I feel like this is what actually allows you to be able to expand your mind, not in a way of like change your beliefs, just in the way of like, you know what, that's interesting, okay. And you're not like restricting yourself from thinking that like, oh my God, there's only one way to be thinking about things, you know? I really don't care what you believe or how you believe it or whatever, but all I care about is my own ability and the internal trust I have within myself to be able to know and claim my faith as a Christian, and also know that believing that we are souls and knowing that we are souls outside of this, both before existing as humans and after, and that there is intention behind, like intentional wisdom behind, like divine wisdom behind when we decided to be born and when we came here and when we came to this earth. I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me. So I encourage you to listen with an open mind and open heart. And I'm really extremely excited to share this episode with you today. So also, if you're someone who really appreciates science and logic and understanding, guess what? Me too. Me too. Like, this is why I'm really excited to have Mads on, because her and I are both people who really appreciate a logical understanding to belief systems. And hence my explanation just now of like believing in reincarnation or like us being souls, whatever. Like, I feel like it's not that outlandish of a thing to believe. And I don't know, it's just crazy to me how judgmental people can be in the name of trying to follow a religion or belief system exactly, when the whole point of that religion and belief system is to love people unconditionally and bring more harmony, peace, and wisdom to this earth. Like, there are two very different energies going on there, between like telling someone, you're wrong, you're thinking about this the wrong way, it says right here that you shouldn't be thinking this way. That comes from a place of control and fear, which are very human emotions, versus saying to yourself, yes, I know that the Bible says this, or whatever says this person believes this. And also, I know there's pure truth and resonance within my heart that understands that like there is also an expansive view that is not exclusive of this, but just goes beyond the ways that we have currently learned to understand our world around us. And everyone's entitled to that experience as an individual. And if you're someone who doesn't resonate with that, then that's completely fine. But anyways, I don't want to go on and rambling for too long, because it's been a long time. So without further ado, I really hope you guys love this episode as much as I loved talking to Mads about it. And let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Organic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. Mads, welcome to the Organic Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. Like, I literally am frothing with energy about this conversation and to have you. So thank you for taking the time to be here.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm stoked.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Today, we're going to be talking all about the basics of astrology, like the energetics behind astrology, beyond just like the surface level, kind of what your average person probably thinks of astrology as just like
Mm.
this little fun thing that like, oh, maybe it doesn't really affect me. Maybe it's just like a bunch of BS, whatever. Like I want to talk about the logical, energetic, scientific explanation behind like the energies at play and understanding the systems and how it can actually serve you in understanding your purpose and more deeply connecting to your soul contract and why you came here, just all the things in that realm. So I'm super excited to have you because you have so much knowledge and such a deep understanding of this topic. And like, I'm just so happy that you're here.
I was so happy too. Get moving past the ideology of like astrology is just a horoscope you find in J14 magazine when you're like in eighth grade, ninth grade, you know? So I'm excited to give a deeper understanding.
I'm curious for you because as someone, like I said, who has like a deeper understanding of astrology, how did
Sure.
you like what was the very beginning of you understanding astrology or like looking further into it, if that makes sense? Like understanding the deeper systems and the houses and all the planets and
Mm,
whatnot.
sure. Yeah. So obviously I had magazines as a kid and I would read the astrology horoscopes and be like, I have no idea what this means. It's kind of funny because like looking back, I would actually often find myself reading Taurus and I'm not a Taurus sun. I'm a Sagittarius sun, but my rising is Taurus, which I found out like 20 years after the fact. So that was kind of funny. But realistically, there was a period of my life where I was going through a lot. I was homeless and I recently lost my job at the time. This would have been about like 6.5 years ago, like 2019, end of 2019. And I had, astrology textbooks at this point. I had kind of really been putting off my spiritual awakening. And so I had a lot of free time and I was really going through my dark night of the soul, which is just like this big ego purge. And was like, okay, well, I'm going to read some of these books. And I didn't really read a lot of them. I just kind of like read the general overview of like each sign, each planet, and like kind of just was more trying to remember the symbolism of like the planets when you look at an astrology chart. And I have this journal back home in Canada and it like has all like the notes that I took down. And then someone introduced me to birth charts like through the Astro Seek website. And I remember looking at it and I'm like, okay, yeah. So like I can see these aspects going on. And someone was like, hey, like read mine. Like what does it say? And this is someone who like knew about astrology charts. And I was like, okay, well, like this, and this. And I was like looking at a particular Pluto aspect. Always Pluto, which is so crazy. But anyway, I was looking at a Pluto aspect and she was like, how did you know that? And I said, well, it's like right here in the astrology chart. And she's like, but the definitions don't say that. And I'm like, oh, well, like, was it wrong? She's like, no, it's scarily accurate. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that's kind of how I say I remembered astrology because it became very clear to me soon after that that this is something I've worked with throughout many lifetimes. And it really felt like a remembrance. It felt like I looked at a page once and it just kind of all opened up this massive library in my brain of remembering the information. So I've been working with it for about 6.5 years now, more professionally. Yeah.
Professional. Seriously though, that is fascinating because I
Yeah.
like my kind of starting out, it's this is like this shit is so in depth. Like for someone who has not
Oh
looked deeper
gosh.
into like a chart or anything related to like the aspects and everything of astrology, like there's the planets, there's the signs, there's the houses, there's the aspects between all of them and the relationship.
Mm,
And it's like such a
yeah.
there's such a deeper energetic like undercurrent to all of these aspects and like the relationships between them
Oh my
that's
God,
not
yeah.
just like this casual little
It's
thing. Like it's a fucking science, I swear to God.
well, I mean it is. I mean, if we want to get into that exploration of astrology and we bring it back to like, Einstein and Nikola Tesla, like everything is energy. If you want to understand the universe and if you want to understand consciousness, you bring it back to energy. And the one way that I've always explained astrology is that every planet has its own gravitational mass and it has therefore its own energy waves and frequency waves and gravitational waves. If we want to go a little bit more with the language here. And the way that those gravitational waves hit the Earth, metaphorically speaking, the way that they move and interact with the Earth and the solar system has their own frequency and vibration. And so, based off of their gravitational mass, their frequency is different, which means they have a different archetypal sort of characteristic that we can attribute to them. And we put this into oftentimes like psychological and sociological, even anthropological language, because of also the many ancient civilizations that have studied astrology before us and have observed these patterns, these sociological and psychological patterns in human behavior. And so when people say, like, oh, you're talking about the stars and like your horoscope, and yeah, okay. It's like, that's fine. We can make fun of it and have lightness with it, but at the end of the day, it's literally the impact of a planet's gravitational waves on our planet, which then affects our bodies because we live on this planet. Just like the moon affects the tides, the planets are also affecting us in quite literally the exact same kind of way, if that makes sense. So that's my little short form on the science of it.
No, that completely makes sense because this is something I was curious to talk about as well because I think about astrology and how it's been interpreted over like thousands of years of human existence and like the overlap
Seriously.
between civilizations and like other interpretations. Like we have ancient descriptions of this that has stayed consistent
Yeah.
through like thousands of years. So are
Hmm.
they just kind of like making that up with their own human accord, or are they actually understanding, putting a name to energies that exist no matter what, and they're just describing them in the same ways? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, the modern human really likes to pride itself. And I think we're kind of maybe humbling ourselves more recently that, but there's been this sort of rhetoric that we're like the smartest beings in, the ecosystem, the smartest beings in the solar system and whatever. And if you look back at it and you see that there's civilizations from 10,000 years ago who knew about Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, and then you look at the modern human who discovered that maybe like just a few hundred years ago, if that at best, right? Like, not even for some of those planets. I don't think that we're just giving them like human attributions. I think it's almost like a resurgence or remembrance of this information that's been available to us that has kind of been whether locked away, hidden, forgotten, whatever, the experience is and however you want to view it. So I think it's really interesting in that regard to look at the ancient civilizations and be like, hey, well, how did they know that? And it's like, well, they were so much more connected to what was above than what is here below on Earth. And, that a lot of their wisdom has been largely forgotten through the evolution of the modern human. So it's like we're kind of behind, I think, if anything, in our attributions to what the planets are doing and how they're impacting us. But
No, I completely agree because we have forgotten so much. Like I
yeah,
I think about this again logically. Like this is not new information and like
not
the
at all.
humans who were understanding this in civilizations past and like ancient history, they were much more connected. They were much more in tune. Like, especially in the
Hmm.
modern day, we have so many things that keep us so disconnected from even just like
Oh,
the
yeah.
nature around us, the world above us. Like, there's far more beyond what is like the average human experience, or just like physical.
100%. No one is gazing at stars like it's, I find that's like a more niche experience to have where people are like laying out at night and gazing at stars and like no one is really hugging trees anymore. And if you are, you're definitely very spiritual and, a little bit more woo woo, which is fantastic. I own that. But I think that those are practices that ancient civilizations use. They had nothing to do when it was night. Like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have certain technologies to keep them busy. They also worked with the rhythms of the earth and the rhythms of the moon and the cycles of seasons. And so they were out and studying the stars and understanding the stars and paying attention to how the stars moved at different times of the year and how those times of the years the people were affected and the cultures were affected and conflict was affected. Like this has been studied for like millennia, you know what I
I
mean? So
know.
it's fascinating. Yeah, we're a little behind though. So we're getting caught up with all the distractions that we have.
We're
But,
catching up.
and to counter that, I mean, the technology that we have is kind of helping us remember in some way. Like it can definitely bring us askew, but it's also helping us remember things like the age of Atlantis and, Lemuria and different civilizations, the whomever, you want to kind of reference. So
Yeah. You know what? We're due for a remembrance. We're due for a little
we're
shift
in
in
it.
a I know,
Shifting
in the midst
consciousness.
of it. Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
that speaks so well to same kind of thing I said before, where it's like all of these energies of like the planets and even the signs, like it's already existing and we're just
Yeah.
interpreting and understanding it. But I'd be curious to talk more about like deciding on like naming the constellations, I guess, and like creating the
Sure.
energies behind that. You know what I mean? Like who decided that these stars were Aries and Taurus and like understood the systems and like how does that shape modern astrology?
Yeah, so my understanding is that the words are Latin based. So the namings of the 12 zodiacs are Latin based, sometimes 13 zodiacs, depending on who you ask, with the Officius, I think it's how it's pronounced, I'm not sure. But they're all pretty Latin based. And actually, if you go to cathedrals and churches here in Europe, specifically, like I live in Italy, and there's literally in the archaeology museum, it has the entire 12 zodiacs written with the Latin and Roman spelling. And so I think it goes way, way, way back in terms of who decided what they were. I mean, when you're staring at a cloud or a star or like something in the sky for so long, it starts to take shape. And so Aries is kind of like the ram, and how the language associated with the symbolism, like the animal that they depicted, I'm really not sure. I would firmly, contest that that also has some sort of like divine inspiration or sort of like intuitive download that kind of comes with it. But that goes back even beyond like tens and tens and tens of thousands of years. So yeah.
Yeah. Like they don't just come out of nowhere. I absolutely agree. Like
Mm-mm.
the it's not coincidental, like the symbolism, the meaning behind it, because I mean it does shape a lot of how we interpret like the signs today. And like even
For
I don't
sure.
know, like you said with like Aries is the ram,
Yeah.
right? I was
Yeah.
like, wait, Taurus is the bull, Aries is the ram.
Yeah.
But like
And
those
like they're
energies,
similar,
yeah.
but they're different. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Yeah.
the ram is like first fucking out of the gate, like ready to fucking go. Doesn't really think things through. The bull is very calculated. You ever see a pissed off bull? Like it's not just gonna charge at you. It's gonna like kind of stalk its prey from afar and like make you know that it's coming. That's very Taurus energy. It's gonna take its time, but once it arrives, it fucking arrives. So yeah,
It plans your death.
it's oh well, yeah, depends on the mood, I guess, of a
Well,
Taurus.
not, maybe not. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's just the point of like all of these energies are very, there's intention behind it. There's intelligence behind
Mhm.
it. It's not just like a little like bedtime story that has been passed on. Like, and I don't think they'd outlast generations and like maintain this kind of ancient mythological wisdom if it wasn't resonating
I
true to
mean,
like, you know?
there's a reason why you will find astrology in many of the churches. There's a reason why it was covered up in the Vatican. Like, this is information, this is cosmic knowledge, divine information that has been available to Earth and all of its conscious beings from the beginning of time, from the beginning of the modern human, but has been, for whatever reasons, kind of like covered up and invalidated in some ways because I think it holds so much power to the energetic network here and how to live in a physical reality. But you will literally see it in every church, and then you'll read the Bible and be like, if you believe in astrology, you're a child of the devil. And it's like, well, then why the fuck do you have the fucking whole 12 zodiacs depicted in your goddamn cathedral? Like, pick a side, you
Yeah.
know?
It feels
Anyway.
very human to say like you must suppress like the collective intelligence, like the cosmic intelligence that like millennia of humans have understood and resonated with and like
Hmm.
written down and like you know what I mean? Like it feels very
Yeah,
human to say that we ignore that and it means nothing, especially when it's so
absolutely.
powerful.
Absolutely. And I think that comes with the detriment of being human, that we feel like we need to like have evidence of everything and know everything with an exactitude and like a almost like this absolutist and sort of like finality, I guess, that like if something doesn't have like an equation to it that can be repeatable and evidential every single time, that it's inaccurate or it's wrong or it's lacking credibility. And yet that's just not the case. Like things get to be a little bit more nuanced. And I love using Einstein. Shout out to Einstein, man. My absolute fucking idol. Not even kidding. I'm obsessed with him. It's just so freaking cool. And also his hair is just awesome. But like he was ridiculed for his theories on gravity, right? Like for years leading up to him being able to prove it through an equation. And then the same people who had basically ostracized him from the scientific community were inviting him into universities to give lectures and to speak and to teach on this and to help them understand it. And it's like, I think there's a lot of parallels that we can draw with things like astrology and many other things in the sort of like intersection between quantum physics and spirituality, where we may not have every single equation and, 100% evidence, but also like I don't think anything in, well, that's not true. A lot of things in science do have like 100% like evidence and like accuracy and like obviously mathematics also. But you know what I mean? Like I think we're at that point where we're kind of just having our like pre-Einstein gravity accolade moment in certain conversations like this that you either are going to wake up to at some point in this lifetime or you're not, and you're going to come back and do it again and be like, oh, I get it now. So,
Yeah, like it's here no matter what, whether or not you want to explain it with an equation, with whatever, or like the cold hard facts and whatnot. Like this speaks to logic versus intuition kind of things to me. Like intuition is
sure.
an intelligence of its own, and like the intuitive knowing and understanding that there is meaning behind these deeper astrological themes and everything, like that's not to be discredited just because it's like, well, what do you mean you just know? Like, what do you mean it's just your intuition? It's there's far
100%.
more intelligence beyond just like the
But I
facts.
always find that's an interesting conversation too. It's like, well, how do you just know? Okay, well, when you walk into a bar and you get the vibe from someone that you need to stay the fuck away from them, how do you know that? And why do you listen to it? Why? Because it's a danger. It's a fear response, right? It's like the fight or flight kicks in. The fight or flight is directly correlated to intuition. But the great thing about intuition is that whenever you cultivate it, you can use it beyond the fight or flight system. You can use it in a regulated nervous system state where you're able to work with the energy and basically like the feedback that your body is receiving from the environment to make decisions to maximize your life and your opportunities and everything around you. And then beyond that, where astrology comes in, is then you learn how to use the astrological and like cosmological energies that are then also impacting your environment, that are impacting your intuition and your energies and how you're then responding to those things. So it's all interconnected, right?
It is. It's all connected. This is something I heard you talk about before, where you say how like to the human brain, to our human minds, like 99% of our reality is like unseen and like our subconscious influence so much.
99.999% is unseen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like
we don't see shit.
exactly. There's so much more beyond like what our physical eyes can see and even what our brains can comprehend and understand. So if there's
For
always going to be
sure.
so much more in the unknown and like I see intuition as a form of tapping into that like intelligence, the
Absolutely.
plane beyond that's like the understanding that influences your human
Yeah.
physical experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also like, again, bringing it back to Einstein, because I'm going to keep using him in this conversation. It's like, where do you think he got the inspiration to solve? Like, he literally sat under a tree and saw an apple fall. Those thoughts don't just kind of come out of the blue and like you're like, oh my God, gravity, what the fuck's going on this planet? Let me come up with a calculus equation for this, right? Like that's not how it works. The component that a lot of people who are so focused, and I would argue to say that they're only focused on the physical reality and what they can see and know, is that the missing piece that's there that they're kind of avoiding or not acknowledging is that Einstein got a divine download, a divine inspiration through his intuition that was like apple falls every single time from the tree. It's always going down, it's never going up. That means something about the planet you live on. Maybe you should explore that. That's like the divine ping, the intuitive ping. If Einstein never followed that, where the fuck would we be in physics right now? Like we probably like you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's all connected, and I think intuition is a really fun conversation to have in all of this too. Because you can use it
Yeah.
to your benefit.
You can, and it's real. It's not something that's like unique to one individual over another or like this special skill that like only some people have. It's like it's a connection that just
No.
exists no matter what. It reminds me of what we talked about with like how ancient civilizations were way more connected than we were. Like they were just way more
Yeah.
tapped into their intuition because there's way less things outside of them to take them away from that connection that also leaves you deeply connected to like the physical reality you exist in.
Yeah, they were also so connected to the earth and her cycles, right? Now I mean, arguably doing the opposite. We're killing the earth, right? There is just such a lack of regard for the fact that earth is a sentient consciousness of its own, which is a whole other fucking conversation. But, it's like they listened to what the earth needed. They took care of the earth. They like in so many ways, their bodies were synchronized in every way to the earth. And so when that coherence is taking place in a biological being with its ecosystem and its environment, it's a lot easier to then tap into and understand the rhythms of the cosmos and of the earth and your place in it, because everything, it's like you have all your ducks in a row, if we want to use kind of like a metaphor here. So it's like easier to see the linear line of the ducks being in a row when they're in the row. Now it's like we're kind of all like scattered energetically, and it's a little bit harder to understand that concept, but I think that's a big part in it too. And then I always find it really interesting that people are like, we don't even have evidence of most of those ancient civilizations. Like, but we do. If you go and travel and pay attention, it's there. It's there.
Yeah,
So
like, are you
yeah.
sure? Our ducks have certainly flown in many opposite directions. They're no longer in a row. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I don't even think they're on the same like playing field, to be quite honest with you. I think they're in different arenas sometimes, but that's okay. It's making a very diverse human experience, which is also really educational. So
Yeah, that it is. And it's all part of like, the remembrance and coming back to this and just learning and
yeah,
understanding as we grow. But yeah, bringing it back to like astrology and how that plays into your life. I
yeah,
think it's so fascinating to look so deeply into your birth chart because like
yeah.
I would love to hear you explain a little bit more, kind of just like why is it so important? Like what is so important about a birth chart? Like why do we care where the stars were at what time when we were born?
Sure,
Like is it just random? Like why is it important?
sure. Well, so bringing back prior to that, the understanding that you're a soul who chose this human experience is kind of like an important piece that plays into this, right? And so, assuming and knowing that you chose to be here on earth at the time that you were born, you chose your birth date. Most times, right? Obviously, there's emergencies and there's exceptions to this, of course. But you chose your birth date and you chose the exact time that you were going to be born because the time that you're born dictates the entire chart. And so your birth chart is this, circular pie that is divided up into 12 sections known as the 12 houses, which are 12 different areas of your life. And each of them corresponds to each of the zodiac signs. But where the zodiac signs fall in each of those houses is dictated by your ascendant or rising sign, which is determined by the time that you're born. So, for people who are born at 1 a.m., their chart is going to look very different from someone born on the same day at 7 p.m. And that's why they can have the exact same birthday, the same sun sign, the same moon sign, and be very, 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 very different individuals, right? Then, you add the years and like the position of the planets and how those are all different. That just adds like a whole other layer of detail and complexity. But basically, when you are choosing to come to Earth, understanding that the planets in this solar system and their gravitational waves are going to impact your experience, what you are doing when you're being born and your birth chart is being made up is you are basically harnessing, you're kind of like drawing in all of this energy to support the higher lessons, themes, and experiences that you pre planned for your incarnation. And so they can be really, really supportive birth charts if your soul chose to utilize it in your lifetime. There are cases where a soul is not being born on the day or time that it wants, as we're seeing a lot of this with like scheduled C-sections when they're just really not necessary. This happened to one of my nieces, and she just completely voided her entire birth chart. So she's not working with like pretty much anything in her chart that's going on. So that also happens, but yeah, it's basically just kind of like an energetic boost to the themes that you already pre-planned in your soul contract and your purpose for life. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And like I obviously resonate so deeply. I was getting so excited when you were explaining because
I
I'm like,
love
I,
it.
I love this shit so much because it's like you're utilizing exactly what you said, like you're utilizing the energies that are already going to exist to like most efficiently amplify like the desire of your incarnation, what you want to experience and like the lessons and the
For
themes and
sure.
everything. Like, you're working with the energies that are already there. And I love that
Yeah.
it's not random. Like the time and day you were born,
Mm-mm.
like that shit is not just like, oh, hee hee, little coincidence. And like
No.
to void it as just like, oh, it's just like irrelevant or whatever, like that's to each their own. Like I think that, and obviously, I'm sure you can speak on this, like no matter what, the energy of the planets and the signs and the transits and everything, like they affect us, they affect the collective. Whether or not you
Yeah.
want to lean into it is your choice, but like you talk about with correlation versus causation, like there's
Yes. I
correlations, there's
think
understanding.
I think that's why some people are really turned off by astrology. And like just to preface, I really don't subscribe to any like neo spiritual rhetoric that you can find on TikTok. Like I pretty much unsubscribe from all of it. Like I don't stand by that. I'm quite traditional in my spiritual work. And so I think, you know, if you're someone listening and you're like, yeah, no, I hate when people just like blame their behavior on, well, like I'm a Virgo or like I'm a Gemini. And it's like, yeah, no, that's bullshit. And I agree with you on that. You know, just because you experience astrology in one way or like you have these signs, it's not causation. I talk about this, like you mentioned, correlation versus causation. And we see this with the ancient civilizations as well. It's like just because there's a full moon in Pisces doesn't mean 100% of the collective is going to get ass fucked with the full moon in Pisces, okay? But it is to say that when we have a full moon in Pisces, a lot of people, the majority being anywhere from 80% or higher of the collective over many, 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 many thousands of years of fucking observation, you know, hundreds of years during these ancient civilizations, there was a pattern of behavior that was constantly, you know, viewed and observed. And we see this a lot with any full moon. It's like you tell anyone who works in emergency response or hospitals, oh, it's the full moon. They know to fucking brace themselves. Why? Because things come to light in the full moon. So whenever you're maybe mentally or emotionally unbalanced, things might just like kind of come up a little bit more during a full moon. And we've seen that over thousands of years that full moons really bring up a lot in people, right? That also being said, some people are more sensitive to the energies of the cosmos and others are not. And I think we even see this in more spiritual communities as well. Like there's some Mercury retrogrades that really get you going in your head, and there's some full moons that absolutely wreck you, and there's some eclipses that just fucking upend your entire life. Like this last 6 month eclipse cycle for me, I've never experienced anything like this prior. Before I definitely experienced some, but like sometimes there's a new and full moon and I forget because I'm like so unaffected by it. And then there's some that come and I'm like, when is the energy gone? Because I'm so over it. You know what I mean? So they they correlate to mass observed behavior over at least, let's just break it down, like at least hundreds of years, but you know, we could go as far as to say tens of thousands of years. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is being affected in the same way. And then when you really want to get specific with it, you lay it the transits on top of someone's birth chart. Everything is affecting people differently. Like it doesn't matter if we have, you know, really, really similar charts. One of my best friends, she's also a Taurus rising, but she's a Leo sun, also has an air moon. Like we have a really similar configuration, but we're born 2 years apart in different months. And it's like the way one moon affects her and one moon affects me, it's not going to be the same because the transits are hitting our charts differently. So yeah, that's the correlation causation piece of it.
Yeah, like there's so much variability. There's so much
Oh,
variability
there's so
between
much.
people. And like you said, I agree. I think people struggle when the kind of like reputation, I guess, that people who invest in astrology have are just like, oh my God, I'm a Gemini, so I just can't sit still. Like or
It's
things
my big,
like that.
no, it's literally my biggest pet peeve when I hear like, oh, well, it's Mercury retrograde. It's not my fault I texted my ex. Yeah, because Mercury came down to Earth, whipped out its little hands out of its planetary body, and texted your rank ass piece of shit situationship. Yeah, that's fucking Mercury's fault. I think, you know, this is a good point to make. I'm joking in a way, but like kind of going forward into what I'm about to say is like I think a lot of people who blame astrology and blame the Mercury retrogrades and blame their sun signs or whatever the fuck else is because they refuse to one, self-reflect, and two, take accountability for their life, their actions, their behaviors, and their patterns. Again, because they choose not to self-reflect or they don't go deep enough in that self-reflection. It's very, very easy to say, well, like, I'm sorry, like, I can't really pick a side because I'm a Gemini. It's like, no, you're a disempowered Gemini who's afraid of ruffling feathers if you actually stand on one side of the polarity or not. You're afraid to own who you are in your communication. Planet of communication rules you. It's Mercury. Like, fucking make up your mind. You know what I mean? I could go off on this like for days, but I think that's part of it is the lack of self-responsibility and the lack of self-reflection that causes people to kind of default and play the victim to astrology. Ultimately, it's like, oh, well, my ex came back. It's not my fault. It's Mercury. It's like, no, it's your shit ass boundaries. Like, girl, stand up. Like,
Stand the fuck up. You
stand
saying the
up.
thing about the Gemini made me laugh because I'm a Gemini
Because
sun
you're a
and it's just
Gemini.
like
Sorry.
pick a fucking side. No, I'm like, you're
I have
right.
so many Geminis in my life, and it's like I can always tell. Listen, and I'm not saying you have to pick a side on everything. I'm really speaking to like if you don't have an opinion on anything.
No, I
Like
know what you mean.
I have a Gemini in my family who like does not have their own opinion on anything, and I just sit in conversation and I'm like, I don't even care if you pick the wrong side. Could you just pick a side? You know what I mean? Like just pick the wrong side, even if it means you have some like individuality and some like something to stand on. Like,
Yeah,
but no,
just choose something.
always in the fucking middle. And I'm a Libra moon, so like I also like to weigh all like I like to weigh the scales on everything. I love that like diplomatic harmony, that balance and everything. But god damn it, sometimes just have an opinion.
Just fucking pick something, dude. The
Fuck.
indecision that I feel sometimes, Gemini
Mm.
sun, Libra moon, not blaming my astrology, but it's just like
It
just examples where it's like it's there, but it doesn't control you.
But the correlation is also there too, right? Like I'm a Libra sun and I'm not a Libra sun. Hello. I'm a Libra moon and it's like I can be really indecisive in certain areas of my life. If you ask me to sit down and pick a movie, we will not watch a movie for 5 years. It's not going to happen. For some reason, like I'm one of those people that I have a list of movies I want to watch, but it's never the perfect time to watch it. Because what if there's a better time in the future to watch it? Like that's like, that's where my Libra moon comes out. But you asked me to sit down and plan where I'm having a retreat or plan who I'm going to hire or decide on if I want to work with someone or not. I know instantly and I act on that without shame. Like, yes, this person, no, not this person. Yes, this location, oh, not there. Like it's so easy for me. So I think like, you find where it kind of has a ground to stand on, and then you have another area where you're like, oh, okay, like maybe I need to stop overthinking things so much. But that's air. That's air
Yeah.
energy, right? It's very
Balance to be
mental.
had. Balance to be
Yeah.
had. I before I forget, I wanted to go back to your point about like the correlation causation, like the I know we already talked about it,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
astrology is never, from my perspective, astrology is never controlling you. And when people
Oh
say
God,
like,
no.
"Oh, I'm a Gemini sun, I can't do this," like you said, it's very disempowering. I feel like those are the kinds of
Mm,
people that kind of get generalized to like all of astrology from the perspective of like I have an engineering degree. I think of my engineering classmates. If I said anything about astrology to them, they'd be like, okay, fucking weirdo. Like, all you do is just blame the stars for, like, your ways of being. And I know we already talked about this a little bit,
right.
but like that kind of energy of like astrology is the reason why I am the way I am. It's like that's not the case. It's like an overlap of influence from the energies that already exist in you. I don't know how to explain
Yeah,
it
and
well.
I think, and I mean this so respectfully, I think it's just an uneducated perspective of astrology. It's like you just don't know about astrology. And I actually think that this is not just people who are anti-astrology, this is also people who are like so pro-astrology, who just are new to it and who may take on this sort of mentality. And it's like, okay, let's add the specificity into it. It's like, okay, so you have this belief, let's say about Gemini, is that you can't have an opinion. Okay, let's just kind of like go with that, right? That you kind of have to play both sides, which is a great quality, by the way. Like, I think being able to step into someone else's shoes, I think everyone should do that. I think that's amazing. But then let's say you have, I don't know, your Gemini is, I don't know, in the fifth house. That's where your sun is. It's in the fifth house, which is like the self expression, creativity, and like your inner child. And your Mercury is in, fuck, I don't know. I'm trying to make this like astrologically accurate. I'm not going to. So I'm just gonna, this probably wouldn't even really be possible based on like the movement of the planets. But like, let's just say the person's Mercury is in fucking like Capricorn, which like literally like, anyway, let's just say that it's there. Okay. It's very rare. Usually Mercury is going to be in the sign before, of, or after the sun sign. So like that's just kind of how it works. But let's just say it was in Capricorn or it was in like the 10th house, let's say. That is also then saying that this person actually needs their mind, their vocabulary, and their communication to actually come into this sense of like structure and certainty and like have a little bit more, not rigidity, but like assertion to it. And so people can blame their sun sign, but it's like, okay, then what house is your sun in? What is it aspecting? Where is your chart ruler? How's your chart ruler interacting with what you're claiming? Because when you get into that as well, like sign rulers and chart rulers, and you actually look at how everything's interacting, you're able to like gently humble people who are kind of limiting themselves based off of the excuse that their astrology is dictating something. You're like, actually, that's not what your astrology is saying at all. Let me tell you what it means. So it was a
Yeah.
terrible example because my mind's not
No,
really
but
with
I know
it.
what
But
you mean. It's the point
yeah.
of like even you just explaining that, like how like the planet or the sign in the certain houses, like all of
Mhm.
it relates. That's a great example of how it's like it's not just like a surface level kind of thing. There are so many like sub layers to it. It's like this
Oh
whole,
my
it's
God.
literally a language. Like it literally feels like a language that you're trying to learn to
It is.
understand.
It
It's
is. It's
crazy.
yeah. there's the signs, the houses, the aspects, the degrees, like it goes so beyond the quadruplicities, like everything. And then you have to bring it all for like one cohesive picture and understanding. And that picture never ends because then you layer transits on top of it. And it's like a constant conversation that doesn't end until the day you die. So it's like, there's a lot of information that you can kind of gather. But you can also blame
Yeah.
astrology if you want. Just like you're not using astrology to your benefit if you're blaming it for your shit. So
Yeah. Like there's a most ideal way to utilize astrology in a way that best serves
mhm.
you and like your ideal path and your purpose and your mission, and also live like an empowered life where you're like grounded in good ideals and you're
For
not just
sure.
like blaming the stars or whatever. Like there's a balance to all of this. And this is why I'm so happy
Yes.
to have you on, because you have such a good perspective on it. Like I'm just so happy.
Thank
But
you.
I
Me too. I'm happy to be here.
I also just wanted to ask about one thing you mentioned with like voiding charts, because I can
Yeah.
imagine as a listener, like two questions I have. One is I've heard people say like, well, what about people who are born on the exact same day at the exact same time, like in the same place? Because like I'm sure
Mm,
at different hospitals, like that's happened before. Like that's not a non-zero chance of happening. Like how
sure.
does that then play out into the individual person? Because like I have an idea for it, but like I'd be curious to hear.
Yeah. So the example I'll use for this, I actually have a client of like 5, 6 years now who is a twin. And so whenever we read her astrology, it's like you can read the twins' energy and then you can read the person in front of you's energy. They have the exact same birth chart. Literally nothing changes. It's literally a copy paste because they're born 4 minutes apart. Literally nothing changes in 4 minutes. And so whenever we're kind of looking at that and it's like, well, how do these energies manifest differently if the astrology is the same? It kind of comes back to the conversation we're having prior of correlation, not causation. So at the end of the day, your soul still has its own consciousness, its own archetype, its own gifts, its own intentions for this incarnation. So, for example, in my client's case, where like one twin is very, very, very career oriented, and that is literally written in the astrology, the other is not. And so, where I see that polarity is like one twin is really emphasizing the 10th, like the MC axis in the 10th house, and the other twin is really optimizing the IC in the fourth house axis. And so it's based off of what the soul chooses to use of what is in the chart. Some souls come in, they're using half their chart. Some souls come in, they're using their whole chart. Some souls are coming in, they're avoiding the whole fucking thing and saying, don't even fuck around with that shit with me. Like, I'm over it. So, two people, take away my clients, let's say two people are born in the hospital, they're born, I don't know, 15 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart on the same day at the exact same time. You may actually find out that they have very, very similar life themes, but we also then have to look at psychology and like nature versus nurture. You are not just the energies that come in, which is why we can come in as these very advanced souls and intelligent beings, not remember who the fuck we are, and spend lifetimes trying to wake up and remember, literally, right? And so we also have to look at, okay, well, person A who is born at 12:01 a.m. and person B who's born at 12:16 a.m., same exact charts. What are their parents like? How much ancestral healing has already been done? Are they empowered or disempowered in their autonomy, their intelligence, their voice in the home? All of those things are going to exacerbate different parts of the chart. If someone's going through a lot of trauma, you're going to see a lot going on with their Mars, their Pluto, and their square aspects, as where someone who's being raised in a like super, super healthy, advanced psychological and emotionally intelligent environment and family dynamic, is probably going to feel that a little bit, but it's probably going to manifest more in outside relationships or perception of culture and society or economy, right? And so we have to then also look at like the lived experience and how that's influencing charts, and that's how people can also be the same. So the soul and then nature versus nurture, along with the fact that it's correlation, not causation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that completely makes sense. That's kind of what I
Mhm.
was assuming. I mean, obviously, like even with the twins example, like two people even raised in the same house with the same astrological chart, the same parents, the same thing, you still have
Yeah.
very different experiences, and all of us are
Yeah.
autonomous as our own individual souls. Like no one's the same. So again, like you
Hmm.
said, the correlation versus causation, like I just take the
Yeah.
example of someone being like, how does astrology mean anything if like it's the exact same for two completely different people? It's like, well, those are two very different people, and like
Different
they just,
people.
yeah, they choose to not play along, but like integrate the energies of the chart. You mentioned how
Yeah.
some souls can kind of like choose like half the chart or whatever. How does that play out? Or like how does that work?
I find that's kind of just like more playing with the aspects. And so you'll just kind of, when you look at it, at least, and maybe this is maybe coming more from like my work, of like you kind of just look at it and you're like, oh yeah, like I could see where that could have played out, but like you weren't really vibing it. So you kind of just like crossed it off the list before you got here, kind of thing. It's like, it's basically like if you have a list of things to do and then your parent, like you have chores, and your parents like actually don't fold the laundry. I already did that. And so you can cross it off the list, but you never did it. It's like a same kind of idea. It's like the same way that the soul is able to void the chart completely, it's able to void only certain aspects of the chart. And so the energies are still working. But if you could imagine maybe the like Harry Potter's invisible cloak, like maybe just like the Mercury lines are like not hitting the individual in the same way, because there's this metaphor like invisible cloak over the person for the Mercury line only, but then the Jupiter lines can hit through and go to the person just fine. It's like a, again, terrible example. Mercury
No.
retrograde, we just came out of it, and I'm definitely gonna say that it definitely mind twisted me this time around. But anyways,
No,
fuck.
that makes sense. It's like that's so fascinating because you have more control over like the experience of like yes, the correlation. Like I'm sure the energy is still there, the energy is still working, but it's like you kind of
It's
have like
buffered
and
almost.
yeah, it's like an immunity to it. Is that a right way to describe it? Like a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah, absolutely. And well, so that, yeah, it's actually, that would be like a whole other kind of case scenario, which is a great point to bring up. So thank you for mentioning it. It's like if a soul has lived so many past lives and like has really gone through a lot of trauma, even if their Chiron line is active, it's probably not going to hit them the same way as someone who's like maybe a little bit more new to experiencing human trauma in an incarnation, because it's like they're used to it. Like they have the soul expertise almost behind it, as where someone who doesn't is going to really experience that in their incarnation differently. And then so like buffers kind of work the same way. So like if the Chiron line is not going to be active for the soul for whatever reason, same kind of principle. So yeah, great example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then the
Yeah.
second part of the question is you mentioned like scheduled C-sections and things like that and like
Oh,
voiding voiding the
nothing pisses me off
voiding the
more.
job.
Nothing pisses me off more. Nothing pisses me off
You're like,
more. Oh
oh,
my God.
C-sections. I know, you know what? We never
No,
discredit their medical need, but the I know what you
I'm
mean.
pro C-section. I'm pro C-section. I am not pro scheduling your baby's birth unless there is a medical emergency that threatens mom or baby. Your kid knows when it wants to be born, okay? These souls are so intelligent. We're all so intelligent. Like, imagine someone kicked you out of bed at 1:30 and said, "You got to start getting ready for work now," and you start work at 9. It's kind of fucking annoying that you're going to be sleep deprived, bitchy, cranky, probably a little hungry by the time 9 o'clock gets around too, but no one's eating at 2 in the morning. Like, what the fuck? Same kind of concept, right? And so I saw someone post the other day. It's like an influencer on TikTok that I love. And she was like, I'm like debating if I schedule the C-section for her to be an Aries because she feels like an Aries. But then, like, what if she's like a Taurus? And it's like, just let her choose. Let her choose. The kid knows, the baby knows if she wants to be an Aries or a Taurus. Like, trust me, she knows. And the fact that you know she feels like an Aries is you tuning into the fact that she's probably going to be an Aries so that you don't need to schedule this. Like, because she wanted to do a VBAC. And it's like, if it's safe, then do it. I'm not anti C-section. I think I'm very pro medicine and I'm very pro science, but I'm equally in the same vein very pro intuitive connection and collaboration with our children, especially with the souls that are incarnating right now. And so, yeah, I mean, it happened to my niece. She really, really wanted the one day, and it was going to be a planned C-section either way. We knew that with my sister's birth. That was not the issue. It was like, I want to be born on this day. The Leo moon is great for me. She was born on a day that has a Cancer moon. She's like, bro, I'm not doing that. She was so pissed
Bruh.
before she was born. No, she was losing her mind. I like was channeling her and I was like, okay, well, I'm trying. And I had a conversation with my sister and she was like, well, it's just more convenient for the doctor. And my sister is like still learning how to kind of like really push for the things that she wants in life. And so my niece was born yeah, she was born beginning of October on a Cancer moon when she should have been a Leo moon. And let me tell you, she's got the stubbornness of what would be a Leo moon. Let me tell you, but yeah, she's all and
She's, I'm
then
taking that anyway.
oh yeah, and basically what she ended up doing is she was able to kind of like orchestrate it that she was born at a time where like her rising sign is also Scorpio. She's gonna be a Scorpio either way, so she just fucking loaded the Scorpio up in her chart, and I'm like, ooh, good luck, mom and dad. They already also have another daughter who's a Scorpio, so yeah. So
Oh
anyway, sorry, a
man.
little tangent, but yeah, I think just like trust when your kid wants to be born again, unless it's medically like really medically urgent where it's like don't risk your life or your baby's life for like the divine timing of things. I really, it's not the
Yeah.
advice I'm giving at all that's dangerous, but if there's no rush, I think stop rushing. Like I think that's the other thing
Yeah.
is like slow down, be with the cycle of the earth, be with the cycle that you're in, be with the cycle of your baby, and they'll choose it. But if not, they'll just void their chart. I see it more now than I ever have before. Let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I exactly get what you're saying. It's like it's not like C-sections are bad. We never want to do C-sections. Like when
No,
they're
not at
required,
all.
we need them. But I get exactly what you're saying, where it's like if it's not urgent, like there is a deeper intelligence behind this that your kid wants to be born at this time. So like don't
And
fuck
I,
with it if you don't need to.
you know, I will also say that there are actually some souls who want to be born via C-section, but they want you to listen to the date and time that they want to be born. So if they say, I want to be born on August 1st at 6 p.m., don't fucking make the birthday August 7th at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there are souls who want to be born by C-section. It's actually quite interesting. They're like, would rather not go through the typical passage to arrive. Thank you. There's like, it's like a whole thing. I've channeled souls about this. It's really interesting. But it's more about listening to the collaboration of when do you feel in your body that this baby wants to arrive? When did they feel like they're ready to arrive? I had a client last year who was about to do an IVF cycle. And so when I speak on these things, I'm not speaking on it from like a frivolous place at all because I understand the complexities of conception and family planning and everything. And this is kind of like also speaks to like how much I've learned to trust what these souls are coming through with in their information. This baby said, "This is not when I want to be born. I want to be born next February." And she was due to have an IVF cycle in February of last year. So that's 12 months. So like that pregnancy is not going to take place. And interestingly enough, she had also had a gut feeling. She was like, I also feel like I'm not supposed to do the cycle. And it was her last, it's their last egg. Like it's like their last embryo that they were transferring in this IVF cycle. And she trusted her intuition and she didn't do the cycle. And then a few months later, she did the cycle. And sure enough, he just arrived in February on the exact day and time that he said he wanted to. And so, you know, I don't share this information in the sense of like, well, you know, how can you use your intuition, your channel to basically tell people when to have kids? It's like, well, I've been doing that for years. I've literally helped so many people get pregnant and like create their families, literally, whether through like natural conception and IVF. It's like I can tell you what the soul of your child is desiring, and more importantly, you already know what the child is desiring. You just have to tune into it and trust it. So that's a whole other conversation, but it does come into the kind of conversation with the astrology of using or avoiding the chart. So,
Yeah. I mean, if there's
yeah.
anyone who has experience working with spirit babies, like you're gonna be one of the first people I think of in terms of
Yeah,
like channeling them and understanding, relating to the soul purpose and like supporting the mission and
for
everything.
sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I
It's
will probably
important shit.
yeah, that will be in your intro. Let people
Oh,
know ahead
thank
of
you.
time.
Thanks.
But it is real, like it's real. We are not just like silly little souls that are just coming here on a whim. Like there's a much deeper intelligence to
Earth on a
it.
whim? God. God bless us all if we came here on a whim. We'd be fucked. And it already looks like we're fucked, but like, you know, imagine how much more fucked we would seem if we came here on a whim. God help us
Just
all.
yeah, just for funsies. When a soul does void their chart though, how
Yeah.
is that like a negative thing? Is that like a less ideal? I assume it's a less ideal scenario, but like how do you work with that?
It's more like putting ice in your water. It's like a preference, I guess. Like you can have cold water without putting ice in it, right? So some people
Hmm.
refrigerate their water so they don't need ice. And then some people have room temperature and they add ice. And some people have cold water and then they add ice to make it colder. It's kind of like the same kind of analogy. It's like, it's not a negative thing. It's just that they will have a different energetic preparation prior to incarnating to ensure that the energies that they want to work with are holding them in a particular container when the astrological energy will maybe counteract that. So there's like different protections that will be put in place. There's different guides who might be assigned to support the individual through certain periods of their life. Yeah, oftentimes we kind of just see like a coding around the or in the person's quantum field and the child and the human's quantum field that basically sort of filters out different astrological energies a little bit differently. And then also like we'll code in like different programs of support that would have been maybe in the more optimal chart, basically. Yeah.
I love this conversation because I understand it. And it's an example of like things that when I first heard about them, I was like, whoa, that sounds really out there. But a part of me just knows so deep in my soul that like it's
You
just
feel
like you
it.
just remember, like you just know, like
Yeah.
I feel and know in my body like this is not like it's the truth. It's just like it's a remembrance of it. And I just say that because like I imagine a listener who like has never heard these kinds of conversations before being like,
Mm.
"Whoa, what are you talking about coding?" Like, but
I know. But, for context, many people who have found my old podcast were very, very new into the spirituality space. And the message I get time and time again, people are still finding it and listening to it is, I'm really new to this and I don't really always understand fully what you're saying, but I can feel in my body that what you're saying is true and I understand it to some degree. Like it resonates. And that's really all you need. Obviously I say question everyone and everything, including me, but beyond that, like your body just knows what is true. It's like the way that you know your name, you just know that something feels right. And in this conversation that, you and I are having, I'm sure your listeners are feeling something that is like, okay, yeah, that's true. That feels right for me. It doesn't have to be everything. It
mhm.
could be just like one thing. So
Yeah, just like it's using your own discernment. Like that I feel like
for
we
sure.
all this is some this is something I get very passionate about because like I if I had to put like a value as number one, it would be freedom. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, it
But like
does.
I I hate anything that like well, I don't want to say hate. I'm gonna chill for a second. Let me chill. Let me take a breath. But I really dislike any sense where it's like trusting yourself and like that inner knowing and like
Hmm.
leaning on that as a divine sense of intelligence that lives within you. Like
Yeah.
nothing can counteract that. Like looking to say that
No.
that's like wrong or comes from a bad place or whatever, like you just know. You just know. So like,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, we've been taught collectively that people know best for us, right? And like that's where the outsourcing of our decision making, our intuition, our feelings, even we look to people and it's like, well, I feel this. Is that okay that I feel this about this situation? Bro, you feel it anyway. So, like, whether someone tells you it's okay to feel or not doesn't mean you're going to stop feeling it. You're either just going to repress it or you're going to feel bad about the fact that you're feeling it. So just feel it fucking anyways, you know? Um, Intuition is kind of the same thing in this conversation. It's like we've been taught to outsource whether or not we can listen to it. And, I shared this with one of my friends and I share this in Seven also. It's like whenever you're getting advice from people, oftentimes you already know what it is that you want to do. You're just looking for that outsourcing, right? You're outsourcing the validation to say that this is the right decision. And there's two kinds of feedback that you'll get. One is people who are in the same resonance and frequency as you who are going to say, yeah, absolutely. Like, I agree with you on this decision. I think you should do that. And you're going to be like, yeah, okay, great. Like, I already knew that. Thank you for like, reminding me. And then there's people who are going to give you contrasting feedback where it's like, oh, I don't know, like if you should do that. And then you start doubting yourself. But they're both giving you the answer that you need, which is you already knew to begin with because you weren't doubting yourself until someone put it in your head that you should be second guessing yourself. And so if you weren't second guessing yourself, like you already know that you would make the opposite decision to what that person who contrasted your point of view was saying. So I think people need to stop outsourcing their lives and their psychology and their mind and their choices and their intuition. And that, whether you use astrology for that or not, doesn't fucking matter. Though I will say Pisces, Libra, Gemini, y'all might want to stop outsourcing the most.
Are you speaking to the
Cancer,
transit?
yeah, no, I'm saying to the sun sign, rising sign, or moon signs. Like Cancer also, I would say probably is going to outsource a little too much. But yeah, just if we want to bring astrology into it, but yeah.
The way you just listed all of my big three,
Well,
that's
take it as it
hilarious.
resonates, Reagan.
With my discernment. But yes,
Yeah.
with
What
more
house is your moon
fourth.
in?
Like
Nice. Yeah, that makes so much sense though. Okay.
Libra
Oh.
moon in the fourth house.
Oh no, it's
Slay.
like having like your entire like ancestral freaking line basically speaking in your subconscious, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're connected to them or not, being like, yeah, but what about this and this and this and this and this and this belief and that, and then you're like, okay, I get it, I see all of it, but like, fuck, who am I in this? And then that's where the
Yeah.
decision analysis comes from.
Slay, we love that.
Slay, we love.
Oh
Shout
my
out to the
God.
maternal line.
Yeah, thanks, Queens. Oh my
Oh,
God.
that's
But
funny.
okay, one thing I wanted to add to that with the piece on like the intuition and trusting yourself. We've
Mm,
already looped back to this, but I feel like it has been made to like people when people hear like you can lean on your own trust, you can lean on your intuition. It's like we have been
hmm
so conditioned to think that like that is dangerous and that we are trying to like
mm,
be our own like God of our life and like overrule the divine wisdom that exists beyond us. Like that is not what is happening when you trust your intuition. Like it's not from this self-righteous place or like this egotistical kind of like
no.
self-serving whatever place. It's so much there's so much more depth to it and it's more like collectively
Mm.
divinely inspired and aligned.
Yeah, I would argue that it is, whatever your definition of God is, I would argue that it is God speaking to you. Your intuition is how God, source, the universe speaks to you. That's how it's speaking to you. It's not speaking to you in a person saying, do this thing. It's speaking to you in a very soft and subtle hum in your body and in your heart that is this desire for something more. I think where the nuance of like it being egotistical and self-serving is the way in which you then go about those decisions that follow your intuition. There are people who know that they are meant to be multimillionaires, right? That's the divine inspiration. They know that they're supposed to do that, but then they go and they do it in a way where they are destroying everyone in their path to climb the ladder and get to that point. And it's like, well, that's not what the divine inspiration was, right? The divine inspiration was to carve a path to your own financial greatness, not to use others at your own expense. And we can apply that to every decision in every area of life. And so when you approach your intuition as this insight from the divine, from source, from God, whatever it is that you believe in, I don't really care at all what you believe in. Um, if you take it from that point and then you act upon it in a morally and ethically sound way, it serves you and every single person around you because you're going to do so much good with what you're being inspired to do. And then obviously,
Exactly.
like, if we just want to use like the criminology aspect, people are saying, well, someone told me that I should like murder this person. No, that's just called psychiatric illness. So let's not even bring that into the kind of scope of comparing here.
Yeah,
So
not in a completely different realm of like actual condition problem.
treatable, medical,
Ye-
psychiatric,
Yes,
respectfully, you know,
respectfully, not the same. But
not
literally,
at all.
exactly. I'm so glad you said that because when it all loops back. Even the whole
Yeah,
point of why I have my show and why I want to like what I want to inspire in people in terms of like coming back to their most authentic expression of self. It's like when you actually align to like what you're being called to, when you trust your intuition, when you like understand how even themes of astrology play into like shaping your life, all of it is for like the greatest good for both you and also the collective. Like when you are living in purpose,
100%.
like the impact that you have like on the world, on the collective at large is like insane. I'm sure you know
It's
more deeply than I do.
insurmountable. Yeah. I mean, the whole reason you have purpose and why you're here on earth is because you're meant to contribute in some way, whether that is a mass public platform or just like birthing the next generation of humans and treating them so beautifully and supporting them as they grow up into adult humans and everything in between. You have purpose in this life. And when you follow your intuition and that desire in your heart, again, in an ethically and morally sound way, you are fulfilling your purpose, which makes this world a better place and it makes the people around you, better. It makes you better. It makes you more loving. It connects us all to like that highest love frequency available to us. So, yeah, I mean, everyone benefits by you being in purpose in every way, shape, and form when you do it in a soulfully aligned way.
Mhm. When your
Yeah.
heart, when your intention is pure, which I feel like
Yeah.
when someone has pure heart, pure intention, like good moral foundation, it's
hmm
very hard to like pollute that. I truly do I would like and hope to
Yeah,
believe that
100%.
it's like you're not going to be like this is where I say like it's not the danger around trusting yourself, like when you have such a pure heart, when your goal and intention behind all of your actions is to like benefit others and impact the collective and serve, like nothing is going to be impacting that. You know what I mean?
It's, yeah, it's not dangerous to trust yourself. It's dangerous not to, because that's when you start shaping yourself to what other people want. It's where you get you become very, very vulnerable to manipulation and toxicity and succumbing your moral standards because you're afraid of owning who you are and your autonomy and standing up for yourself and having a voice and having boundaries. So, like, trusting your intuition is actually the safest thing that you can do, and not trusting it actually puts you at more risk than anything. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like
Mhm.
biggest piece of like deconditioning that I feel like a lot of us are going through,
Oh,
like as a collective and
yeah.
individually, just like the idea that you can trust yourself and like lean on that intuition. I truly do believe, as you said, that is God speaking through
Mhm.
you. Like, why would God give us intuition? Why would we have this intuition? Why would we have this like greater sense of connection to like the spiritual realm beyond us if it wasn't to serve like a purpose of good? You know what I mean? Like pe the people who are saying like,
Yeah.
oh, my intuition told me to do this bad thing. My intuition told me that like this is
Clearly
fine if
not.
I like do whatever. Like that's not it's not coming from the same pure like heart space.
It's also like, to listen to your intuition and to vocalize that and really stand at a certain level of that power, you do have to go through like deconstructing the ego and your pride and moving out of being self-serving to being collectively serving. Even though it seems like your intuition is a self-serving tool and part of you, it's actually a collective tool. That's like you use it to serve the collective because you enter into your highest and you have to deconstruct all of these ideas of who you need to be. And so you have to go through what's called an ego death, right? And so when people are saying, and like even people who go into like spiritual narcissism, because there is a lot of that also, right? It's like, well, they haven't gone through the ego death. So no, it's not that their intuition is telling them that, it's that their ego is getting hyped up on something and they're mistaking it as their intuition, which is also, you have to be able to differentiate what is your ego and your logical mind telling you versus what is your body and your intuition telling you. And so I think at the end of the day, it also comes back into an even bigger question of like a punishing God versus an all loving God. And that's like, I think, a conversation so many people are not ready to have. Because if you have an all loving God and that's what you believe in, then that God will not tell anyone to do anything that is harmful to another living being ever. Right? Like, that's just like not how that would work, because why would a God do that? And also, going into like the teachings, like Christian teachings of like we are all God incarnated in a way, or like an aspect of God incarnated, it's like, well, then why do you believe that you need someone other than yourself to talk to God if you are an embodiment of God?
Yeah, like the energy of God living within you. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like there is a magic to this reminds me of our talk of like the ancient civilizations being so connected, like
Hmm.
the intelligence of the planet, the intelligence of our lives, like an understanding like the deeper connection to like what lies beyond. To me, that is like God living within everything. It's like the
For
deeper
sure.
intelligence behind it. It's not
Yeah.
like some woo thing. That's where I like I'm like I get frustrated
Yeah.
with like the human interpretation of things and the
I
dilution and like
know.
the all the like fear-based kind of things. It's like,
I know.
oh, it makes me mad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big conversation that's coming with that, I think, collectively with the whole religion thing. But it's like, yeah, and it frustrates me too. And it's like, well, I'm cultivating a relationship with Jesus. Great, as you should. Talk to him directly.
Yeah.
You do not need anyone outside of you. And I'm not saying like don't go to church. You go to church, you enjoy your thing, like you read the Bible, right? But like that relationship is cultivated within. It's not cultivated outside of you. It's cultivated within. And I think religion itself, all religions, are at a point in kind of like this evolution right now. Interesting word to use in that regard, but where it's a lot of outsourcing. It's a lot of outsourcing. What is the word of God? It's a lot of outsourcing of like what is the like religion's moral compass? What is like the religion's ethic? It's a lot of outsourcing still. And the whole conversation that we're having, right, is like bringing it back to the self and like what is God and your intuition and the divine, or maybe even your astrology kind of like indicating is your path and like what feels right and good and true for you. So Yeah, it's a touchy conversation. Definitely gets people up in arms. I will admit it's fun. It's fun feathers to ruffle, but I'm also a little shit disturber as a Sagittarius. So
Yeah, no, it's such a deeper conversation. And like to all of the
yeah,
listeners, anyone listening to this, like this is such I feel like everyone is entitled to their own individual experience of understanding. Like I
for
hold
sure.
hopefully my mic didn't just make a weird noise. I hold like no judgments to this is my thing. My view has always been like a more nuanced perspective of understanding that like a lot of things can be true at once and like kind of seeing
Oh,
the
for
higher
sure.
perspective of these systems.
Yeah.
Like I don't wish for people to be like, "Oh, I can only think this one way or I have to like
No, you
I feel like
shouldn't.
any kind of rigid thinking like doesn't actually serve you in your highest purpose to like be living
For sure.
most ideally for yourself or other people and also in line with like the energy of God that like lives through like every living thing and like
Yeah,
yeah
I
the
agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Black and white thinking is one of the worst things you can do for your evolution in your life. Like get in the gray area. I don't care how gray it is, but like just get a little bit in the gray area and like let yourself
yeah
question everything and have a bit more diverse kind of position on things. Yeah, for sure.
yeah it's not even like gray area like there's a difference between obvious like good and evil things that are very objectively like you know
Yeah,
something's wrong so that's again
for
where we
sure.
bring it back to the compass of like the intuition, the divine knowing within you that comes from a pure place of like unconditional love, like that is never going to be like steering you towards these like bad, evil, whatever,
Well,
like
yeah,
objectively
no.
wrong things.
Yeah, no, not like literally ever. That's not what I mean by gray area. What I mean by gray area is
No, I
like
know
the
what you
two
mean.
things can be true at once. You know what I mean? Like gray area
Yeah.
is not like morally gray. Like we're not thinking like fantasy characters who are morally gray that we love but would never date in real life. That's not what we're talking about. It's like more like let yourself hold, like let yourself have a bit of texture in your beliefs, right? Like it doesn't have to be like all on the same sort of wavelength. You can be Christian and love astrology. I have, two of my best friends are Christian and they love astrology and manifestation. They also love going to church and they love talking about God and talking to God and praying. And like I love that for them. You know what I mean? Both things can exist and be true at once. It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. There's not like we're deconditioning a lot of like the fear-based kind of like, oh my God, it can only be this one thing. And if it's like anything
No.
that comes from within you that you can't trust it. Like,
And I think that's kind of like encapsulating the whole conversation is like anything or anyone that is trying to pull you away from what makes you feel connected and good to your essence and to your life, run. Like if someone's saying like fuck Christianity, you have to be fucking run. But also alternatively, if someone's saying astrology is witchcraft and you are going to burn in hell, run also because what the fuck? Like neither of those things are true, like on either side of it, right? And it's like allow allow things to coexist. And when you open yourself up to that, I think you'll live a lot more intuitively aligned and fucking peacefully.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. To anyone who hears that and is like listening to this conversation and is like, what the fuck? I challenge you to just keep an open mind. Like if this just like breaks in any perspective of like the fact that there's not just one objective right way of like seeing the world, like
Well, yeah, that's a whole thing
yeah.
too, right? And it's like, well, no, I'm right. No, I am right. How about none of y'all are right? None of us are right. Actually, all of us are right and all of us are wrong.
Yeah. It's an individual experience. Individual
Yeah.
experience.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to go with what feels good for you. So if you're listening to this and you're like, fuck astrology, I will never touch that. Okay, that's fine. Mercury retrograde is still going to fuck you up one day in the next 70 years of your life. So, it's fine. You might not recognize it as that, but it will one day. And, Jupiter might bring you a bunch of blessings that you're never going to recognize during your Jupiter return, but it's fine. It's okay. It's still going to happen for you. You're still going to get the blessings, but you don't have to subscribe to these things. But also, if you don't want to subscribe to certain things, don't force other people to subscribe to what you subscribe to. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we can't force our beliefs onto people. Um, and we shouldn't. Like let people
Yeah.
live, let people be.
Essential individual experience. And like
Yeah,
it's gonna happen no matter what. You don't have to look at it. You don't have to read a birth chart. You don't have to like you don't have
no,
to do it. Like again, the correlation causation thing, like impacting,
my
the
favorite.
80% of the collective, like
Yeah,
it's still gonna happen. If you want to say fuck off to all of it, that's fine. Do it. Just have
sure,
your own free will and do it. But if you do choose to like
absolutely.
lean into the astrology as a tool to understand yourself and your mission and like the different aspects of your life, like I personally I'm someone like you, like we've mentioned, like I'm very logical. I have an engineering degree. I also have an astrophysics minor. That's how much I love space and everything. Like the
My favorite
logic
thing about
behind
you.
it. One thing
No,
about
I'm
me, I
kidding.
literally have like my star mug and everything. But
I love.
like I love logic. I love like scientific understanding and everything. And to me, it feels most scientifically logically aligned to believe that like there are energies and frequencies at play. And why would I not utilize like a divine intelligence that had like I have used to create this blueprint to work with energies more efficiently in my life? Like that's how I see astrology, not as like this little
Well,
super like tee like
it's
joke
not
kind of thing.
supernatural. It's literally just scientific. It's gravitational waves. Like,
Hmm.
look at Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein. Everything is energy. You will find this across physicists throughout history. Everything comes back to energy. When you understand how energy works and you then teach yourself how to work with it, you maximize your reality and you actually begin to understand reality and how reality functions on a consciousness level and at an experiential level. So, whether you then use astrology or not doesn't matter, but like the energies are at play regardless.
Yeah,
So, you
they're
might
still
as well
there.
hone in on them.
It reminds me of string theory. Like, I mean, I
I
haven't
love
looked at string
string
theory in a
theory.
while,
Huge
but
fan.
just the fact
Apparently, they
it's the
disproved
fact that like
it.
everything.
No, they proved it. Not
Oh,
disproved it. No,
they
not
proved
disproved.
it?
They proved. I'm pretty sure they
I was
proved
about to be
it. Or they
like,
were like,
no.
no, 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 no. No. They proved it to some degree. It's like still in the works, obviously, but like it's pretty much a sound theory.
Yeah, and that's speaking to like how every single physical thing that we see has like a different vibration. That's what creates like the differences in the
Yeah,
material between everything, right? That's like that's
1,000.
natural
Yes,
frequencies exist in every
that's
physical thing. Like
energy.
I learned that. Yes, exactly.
That's literally the energy. Yeah, exactly. No, it's my favorite thing. Yeah, it's one of the coolest
Yeah.
things that we've allowed ourselves to explore as humans, in my opinion.
It is fascinating. And this again, perfect loop back to the point that like if there's anything you take from this episode as a listener, I want it to just be that like astrology and these systems at play, like there's far more depth to it than just like surface level of what a lot of us probably know and we're taught. And if this is something that resonates as something that you want to look deeper into, then like it's a tool that you can utilize to more deeply understand yourself and your purpose and your
Yeah.
mission and the different aspects and ways that it might be affecting your life. And you take what resonates, you leave what doesn't. That doesn't mean that like it's an all or nothing, like oh, how can it make sense if only some of this resonates but some of it doesn't? Like so much depth and
Sure.
nuance to it. It just create your own experience and
Yeah.
understanding and take it as it comes.
Yeah. And enjoy it in the way that feels good for you. That's literally what's most important. Yeah.
hmm
100%.
I have one question for you, one final wrap-up question for
Okay.
someone who is like, hopefully it's not a scary question. I don't think it is, but someone who's like starting to understand astrology or like is curious to look into it, specifically from the perspective of like wanting to tune into their purpose related to like soul contract mission, why they came here. Do you have like
Mm.
any like top areas of the chart to look or like specific relationships that come to mind when it comes to the area of like leaning more into purpose?
Yeah. So immediately you want to look at the MC line, the midhaven line, which is going to be like the dark ruling line of your 10th house, which is your fulfillment in life. It's your purpose in life. It's also like how you're going to be widely known or recognized. You want to look at the sign, figure out who the sign's ruler is. You can just Google it. It's very, very simple. And then find out where that planet, which is the sign's ruler, same as planet, find where that planet is in the chart, and that's going to tell you a lot about your purpose. So, for example, I have a Capricorn midhaven. The ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. My Saturn is in Aries in the 12th house, which is all about spirituality, the subconscious, self undoing, and autonomy, identity, and like finding yourself. It's quite literally what my company does. I literally help people figure out who they are and why the fuck they came here and their deeper connection to their purpose and to source. It's like quite literally it. There's obviously other aspects in my chart that are important to look at, but like that's just like a sort of like general overview of it. And there's aspects and stuff like that. So that's what I would say look at. And then look at where your Mercury is, planet of the mind and communication. That's going to tell you how you can go about kind of like mentally constructing your kind of like mental pathways and like your process and like your kind of like action plan towards what it is that you want. And then your sun and rising sign and your moon sign will just be like really great information to understand like how do people perceive you, your sun sign, who are you actually, your rising sign, and how do you process things emotionally, your moon sign, and kind of how is that interplaying with the midhaven and 10th house energies. is going to kind of tell you how you're impacted in those areas of identity, self, and emotional regulation as you step into your path of purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that answer. And this is a
You're so
perfect example
welcome.
of like if you heard that and you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to learn about that, lean into that, you can find like a bajillion sources to look up your natal chart. You need to know your time
For
of birth,
sure.
location of birth, date of birth, obviously. And
Yeah.
like there's so many resources out there. I prefer the ones that don't ask for your email because like I cannot be
Oh,
bothered
it's
with a
so
marketing
annoying.
email from a fucking
I
new word
fucking
unlocked.
I love it. That's great.
Oh my gosh, from
Gemini
a
innovation at its finest. I like it.
literally. But I cannot be
Fucking.
bothered with an email from a fucking marketing company. But like there's so many
I'm so
resources
with you.
online. I think you mentioned AstroSeek, but
I love AstroSeek because
they've been
it's actually
overwhelmed.
no, it's up and running again.
Yay.
It's up and running again, thank God. But yeah, AstroSeek is great because it gives overviews. Personally, I've not found the overviews to be the most comprehensive, so I don't find that they resonate 95% of the time, 98% of the time. I also wouldn't put your astrology into ChatGPT because I have done that as like an experiment to see like what is accurate, and it is so wildly inaccurate. So what I would recommend is like go and pull your chart and then go on Amazon and order an astrology textbook. Llewellyn has great ones for like $15 of like understanding the birth chart and placements in the birth chart. And predictive astrology is one of her good books, like a golden cover, or listen to podcasts about them. I would just kind of stay away from like the chat GPT thing because I find it's just wildly inaccurate. Um, yeah. One that was good, is a different AI. Claude AI,
Oh, the
Claude.ai.
Claude, I think. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
Claude. I don't know how you say it.
No idea.
And yeah, it's a that one is more, it has better breakdowns of astrology that I know. But don't give it the picture of your chart. Just write down like what the positions are because I find then that's where it kind of fucks some things up. So yeah. So you can do
Yeah.
that too. And kind of,
Lots of
or just go see
resources.
someone for a reading, like I don't know. Do that
That's
too.
true. People
Yeah.
do a lot of astrology readings if you don't feel like doing the deep dive
Yeah.
yourself. But if this speaks to you, like I on Google is a fantastic resource. There's a lot of places to
Google
look
is,
online.
and it's free.
And it's free. And it's free. But like seriously, it takes a bit to get into it. It takes a bit to like understand and correlate like the archetypes of the energies like you mentioned at the very beginning of like
Hmm.
the signs and the planets and the houses. Like there's a lot to it, but I have gleaned a lot of information that's resonated with me from my chart, which again
Yeah.
never influences your life as like I must devote myself to this as like a practice now. It's just like is information that's there if you want it, and if it resonates with you, then take it as it will.
Take it as it resonates. Yeah.
Take it as it resonates. It doesn't have to be this like crazy devotional, like, oh my God, astrology is my new like North Star. This is shaping my whole life. Like,
To
no, it's
be
just,
To be so honest with you, even as someone like I used astrology, I still use astrology in my work. It's not my methodology primarily, but I love using it. And even at that, I still don't credit astrology for certain things. Like I do get like it's overhyped. You know what I mean? Like it's so overhyped. I have to like I'll be so honest, but it's also such an incredible tool if you know how to use it in a very like integrated way and like a very
hmm
scientific and like sound way for sure.
yeah,
So it doesn't have to
yeah,
be your North Star. It's not even my North Star, and I use it for my work. So
exactly. Like, it's there. It's not that deep, but like it is kind of deep if you want to go deep with it. But it's like, yeah,
it's
balance.
informational.
hmm
It just explains a lot. Like I remember when I looked at my chart and I'm like, oh, Sun Pluto conjunction. And then like, I was like, okay, I don't really see how that makes sense. And then in the past year, I'm like, actually, I see how that has played out in every theme of the last more or less 30 years of my life. So, yes, now I get it. And it's like, now I see it. You know what I mean? So, I think it's just validating also. Like, it's a system that can really validate some of the things that you've lived and like who you are and what you've endured. But take like anything in life, take it as it fucking resonates, you know?
hmm Trust yourself, trust intuition, trust your own
Yeah.
discernment, and be your most authentic self. That's my
Yes. Oh my
mission,
God.
message to the
That's
world.
that's the core of it, literally. Be your authentic self, whatever that looks like and however that feels for you. So,
And when you are most serving to both the collective at large and also your ideal form of living your life. That's the whole point.
Abs-
So
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah.
Yes, I second that. Yep. No notes. Mhm.
No notes, no comments. But
Yeah.
okay, Mads, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on the podcast. Like your level of information, understanding, and just like your skill set and every like I'm honored to have you, and I'm so excited for like my audience to hear this episode. I'm just thank you so
Ah,
much.
thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. I love chit chatting with you. It's a good vibe.
Mm-hmm. It's a good
Thank
yap
you so
sesh.
much. So
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
it. I hope everyone loved it. And even if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
hope you loved something.
Hope you took something from it. It's all that matters. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you really enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of it. DM me on Instagram. Do your thing. Comment on Spotify. I almost said Snapchat, not Snapchat. Comment on Spotify. Let me know what you think. And all of Mad's details are, aka just her Instagram, is in the show notes below if you want to go follow her. But anyways, super honored to have Mads on, and I really love this episode and this conversation. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one.